You know what? It bears repeating.
Mm.
So it's just a couple minutes after 7 o'clock, and I want to go ahead and get us started. Welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Arlington County Democratic Committee, also sometimes known as the Arlington Democrats. I'm Jill Cayazzo, chair of the committee, and it is a pleasure to be with you here today. We did start, as you can hopefully see on the screen, with just a little bit of a history lesson about the Tulsa race riots that we are marking 100th anniversary, I suppose, of this week. Something that's not nearly been talked about enough in history books, though it has gotten a lot of press this week. We think it bears repeating. So please take a moment to note that, and to note the various ways in which systemic racism continues to impact our community and our country. And we will learn tonight, I'm sure, about ways that we can help to combat it, as well as ways that we can help to elect Democrats and to support our community. We try to do all of the above here at the Arlington Democrats. With that, I'm going to kick us off. It is Pride Week, Pride Month, excuse me, and so we'll be hearing more about that a little bit later as well. I threw a little Pride heart here on the slide. I had thought perhaps I would do a Happy Pride Month slide, and then I looked at the outreach slides and thought I cannot compare with those graphics, so I will leave it to them. And they're beautiful graphics to mark Pride Month, and leave it there for the moment. I do want to do a welcome to everybody, of course, but also a welcome to a few folks want to highlight here, which is our volunteer award winners. So we recently held our Blue Victory dinner virtually this year. Big shout out to the finance team for pulling that off. And at our Blue Victory dinner, we, as is our tradition, we recognize a number of volunteer award winners who were nominated by various members of the committee. Wanted to make sure that they got their due and that everybody learned about all the the tremendous work that they've been doing over the past year. It's always a very, very tough decision who's going to win these awards, especially in a presidential year where everyone is just working their hearts out. But we think this is a great group of folks. So first up, our newcomer of the year, Sandra Brody from our Latino Caucus, has just been everywhere, doing everything to help to turn out our Latino voters, as well as to generally support our voter support organization, just making sure that our voters are well educated and have what they need in order to succeed at the polls. Next up is Mary Detweiler, a longtime member of the Arlington Democrats. She wins our Outstanding Democrat Award, which is sort of our Lifetime Achievement Award, though I believe that Mary's got many, many more election cycles in her, and hopefully we'll be working with her for a long time to come. But we did want to take a moment to recognize just all of the tremendous work that she has done over many years, supporting different campaigns. She's always there when you need her up there in West area and beyond. And so we were just thrilled to be able to recognize Mary in that way. Our precinct captain of the year is Sarah McKinley. Big shout out to Columbia Pike. And let me tell you, if you poll greeted with us last year and got a vote blue mask, you have Sarah McKinley to thank. She made hundreds of those masks for our poll greeters, in addition to organizing in her precinct all year round. And we just, major shout out to Sarah. Our campaigner of the year was none other than Josh Kaplowitz, from another representative from our outreach organization. He is the mastermind behind our postcard effort last year, where we ended up sending out, was it 100,000 postcards? I can't even remember anymore, but it was just completely spectacular number of postcards nationwide to races where I believe that they made the difference. Also as an early targeter of North Carolina, as a place where we could also make a difference there. And I'm sure that we'll be back. And we just greatly appreciate all of Josh's leadership over the past year in particular, but always. And that is what made him our campaigner of the year. Moving on, our Young Democrat of the Year is none other than Dan Matthews, former president of the Arlington Young Democrats, who really came through for the party in particular last year as we were adjusting to the COVID situation and having to move so many operations online, which was very challenging, and having to deal with both with that as well as a special election at the same time. Dan really helped us a great deal to pull off a lot of our terrific virtual programming in that moment, and has always been just tremendous and worker behind the scenes, and so was our Young Democrat of the Year. Our unsung hero coming from precinct operations is Fran Jackson. If you're a precinct captain, I'm sure you know her well, but she is always pitching in to help out no matter what, and really just precinct operations and beyond. Our Women's Leadership Award goes to Lisa Backer, another person who really has risen to the challenge of COVID and helped to convert all of our operations to an online format. She is our technology director, and without whom none of us basically could get our jobs done this past year. And so I think really went above and beyond and greatly deserved that award. Finally, our newest award, our inaugural Eric Gutschall Community Leader Award, actually went to two terrific Arlington Democrats, Mary Byrne and Ann DeLeon, who are our Rides to the Polls crack leadership team, who identified at an early point this year that we could leverage our Rides to the Polls infrastructure in a unique way by becoming a Rides to the Vaccine Appointments organization. And so they made thousands of calls to seniors to help them to make their appointments and then to get them to their vaccine appointments. And for all of that tremendous work, marshaling a terrific team, pulling in the Latino Caucus to make sure we were making those calls to Latino voters. We were really delighted to provide that initial Eric Gutschall Community Leader Award to them. Congratulations to all of our volunteer award winners. Again, it was really tough. There are so many terrific activists out there, and we are just so proud and inspired by you all.
All right, everybody, unmute and let's give them a round of applause.
Oh yeah, Mark, good call. Round of applause.
Woo! Hey, Jill, don't forget the witnessing, ballot witnessing they did too.
Oh, that's true. So our Rides to the Polls folks also retooled a little bit and were witnesses for people who were voting absentee by mail, particularly last year during the primary season and special election. So good point. Thank you, Marcia. I also want to do a call out to our terrific sponsors of the Blue Victory Dinner, without whom we would not have been able to raise the $24,000 that we did that night, which will greatly help our ongoing operations. So you've got our gold sponsors there. I won't go through the names because when you get to the next slide, which has our silver and bronze sponsors, there's a whole lot of them, but I do want to say thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. And you know what, I bet you're sitting here thinking like, man, that sounded like a terrific event. I really wish I'd been out there, and checking it out. Well, folks, I got news for you. I want to make sure that you are aware that we are having a special event coming up from our membership group. It's free, it's going to be in person, and it's going to have ice cream. So I'm laying down the gauntlet, June 26th. I hope to see you there. We have not yet figured out the location or the time, but it's happening. Even if it has to happen in my own side yard, we are going to get together for an ice cream social. The time has come. There is a way to do it, I am positive, outdoors in a manner that will respect public health measures. So mark your calendars now. More information to come. Watch our email, watch our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, as well as our online calendar for more information. But big shout out to Izzy Taveras, our membership co-chair. She is working hard behind the scenes to put this together with a little bit of a help from the joint campaign, who we're also going to be hearing from tonight. So I'm excited and I look forward to seeing everybody there. Okay. Whew. We're just cracking along here. For folks who've not joined us previously, happy to have you. And also happy to let you know that we're extremely action-oriented here at Arlington Democrats, and we always like to have all of our meetings involve some kind of action. And so this action this week is going to be really important. I want you to pull out your phones or go to your web browser, go to the Facebook app if you are on Facebook, and pinned to the top of the Arlington Democrats Facebook page, you will see a post that looks something like what is on your screen right now. We would really appreciate your help in getting out the word one last time about the Democratic primary that is happening this coming Tuesday. So this is a great message. It's not overly partisan. I mean, yeah, it's a Democratic primary, but everybody likes, a reminder about voting. So nothing too controversial. We'd love you to share or like this into your network so that we're just, getting to as many people as possible so that they know that they have an important opportunity to vote this coming Tuesday in that Democratic primary. We've got lots of races on that ballot: governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, county board. So there's just something for everybody. Be sure to get out there and vote. And please do share or like this post into your network so we can make sure that there's lots of folks out there joining you in voting. If you, like me, have not yet voted and are still thinking about who do you want to vote for in this primary election, we've got that information ready for you thanks to our crack technology team. Our website has links to all of the candidates in all of those races. available for you at arlingtondemocrats.org/candidates. We've also included in there links to various debates if you'd like to see the candidates in action. So get informed and get out there and vote. It's super important. And we are looking forward to finally having our full slate of candidates after next week, where it will be full steam ahead. All right. Speaking of voting, we do have a couple of business items that we need to take care of. This will be, I think, pretty quick, but we do, generally speaking, have a number of votes we have to take care of at these meetings. The first vote is always my favorite vote, which is to welcome new folks into the Arlington Democrats leadership, which is something that we're always interested in doing. First, we're going to be welcoming, hopefully, as joint campaign co-chair for fundraising and events, Kellen Macbeth, who many of you may remember from the Mayor Pete campaign, primary campaign. He's coming back to help us with the joint campaign this year, which we'll be hearing a little bit more about later. Excited to have his support. In addition, the Inclusion and Equity Committee is looking to add an additional member. The much acclaimed Sandra Brody from the Latino Caucus is looking to join officially the Inclusion and Equity Committee. And finally, we're excited to be welcoming a new precinct leader into Ashton Heights, Colleen Bowles. I am looking for a motion to
I move to approve these people.
We
I
have a
second.
motion. And it's been seconded. Terrific. You guys are on the ball. I'm hopeful that we may see a poll pop up here to, all right, see if this motion passes. Yeah, the votes are coming in, and unsurprisingly, it's looking good. I can see that the motion passes, so keep getting your votes in, but by the number of folks that have already voted, I can see that it passes. So I'm going to keep us moving along just for the sake of time. Oh, there you go. So yes, that passes. Terrific. Okay, moving right along to our next voting item is with respect to our school board caucus. So congratulations to the winner of the Arlington Democrat School Board Caucus, our top vote getter, Mary Cadera. She, after a hard-fought race with Miranda Turner, who we also thank for her willingness to serve our community, Mary did come out on top in our caucus, which actually broke our record in terms of the number of people we were able to get to participate, which is fantastic. Of course, like any private organization that endorses in a race, we have a number of ways of doing it. We could have just our leadership decide who the endorsee is, or we could have a select committee decide, but we try to get as many people out there in the community to be involved in that decision as possible. More than 6,000 of you cast a ballot, and Mary was the top vote getter. Consistent with the rules of the school board caucus, we must endorse, or I should say ratify, the results of that caucus, and the steering committee did unanimously recommend to the general body that we accept the results of this caucus. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the results.
Motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
All right,
Second.
that motion's been properly seconded. So let's see if we can get a poll going. All right, so the poll's going. So if you could please cast your votes. While we do that, I believe I saw that Mary Cadera joined us, and I was wondering if perhaps she might like to say a few words.
I would love to say a few words, and the few words, I'm so excited to win the caucus. I reached out and thanked my opponent as well, because I just have a whole new level of appreciation for how much effort it takes to go into campaigning for anything after doing this. I'm very excited to be on the ballot with the winners of next week's primary next November, and to be campaigning with them. And I want to thank everybody who volunteered in the caucus process. I don't know if she's in the meeting tonight. I didn't see her, but I wanted to give a special shout out to Alex Zins, who put in more hours than I can probably even imagine. And I hope she's getting a well-deserved rest now that the caucus is over. So thank you, everybody.
Great. Well, thank you, Mary. Greatly appreciate that. Yes, it is hard to run for office, any office at any time, especially during a pandemic. So we are grateful to both you and Miranda for stepping up to run and going through that. It is tough. We look forward to being, behind you all the way to November. So very excited to get started with that just as soon as we get through that primary next week. So that is terrific. And I too join you in thanking the tremendous volunteer team led by Alex Zins, who pulled off a caucus under very difficult circumstances. I know that it feels like the pandemic is mostly behind us, but the reality is that most places that in Arlington that would enable a large scale event simply are not accepting folks for those sorts of large scale events, or if they are, frankly, they are our vaccination sites. And that is far more important, honestly, even than the Arlington Democrats Endorsement Caucus. So we were in a bind this year where we simply could not execute on our original plan because we could not find a big enough location for it. And Alex led the way in terms of finding a way for us to execute on our core mission, which is to elect Democrats. And we do that first by getting them on the ballot. So getting somebody on the ballot is why we do the endorsement caucus. So tremendous kudos to Alex for pulling that off, but she didn't do it alone. There was a big team standing behind her. There's a full list of names there on the screen. I want to really thank Vicki Virasing for stepping up to be our deputy director, the illustrious Lisa Backer for serving as our technology director, Carol Burnett was our head teller, and then just a very large leadership support team, folks largely pulled from technology and outreach and just a number of different organizations within the Arlington Democrats to pull it off. Also comms, I can never forget comms. It was a really big group effort. Names that I've probably forgotten and apologize. Tried to catch them in the second to last bullet. There was in-person location volunteers. There were lit drop volunteers, comms volunteers doing posts, and just so many more folks behind the scenes. It's always a big effort. That was true this year as well, even with our revised format, and just really want to thank everyone. And also want to thank the National Cybersecurity Center, which provided the grant at truly the 11th hour that enabled us to go forward with the caucus online, hybrid online in person. So really, thanks very much everyone for your patience during this process. And congrats to everyone for setting a record despite adverse conditions. So really excited about that, and even more excited to get through the primary season next week so we can really charge into November. Okay, I want to move us on, speaking of November, to our next agenda item, which is the joint campaign. I'm going to be turning things over to our joint campaign co-chairs just in a second. I just want to give a little bit of preface. What is this joint campaign that she keeps talking about? Aren't we always campaigning? Yes. Yes, we are always campaigning. However, what we do every year is that we have a group of volunteer leaders that come together and really focus our efforts and lead the charge for how we are going to win elections in Arlington, very much at the local level. That's the joint campaign. And they set the strategy, they do a tremendous amount of background work that we as volunteers feed into and execute, but they're really sort of the vision behind it. We almost always have a new team that run the joint campaign every year, in part because it is a lot of work, but also because we continually want to innovate and have different ideas out there about how we can get things done. The joint campaign works well with the coordinated campaign, which is another term that you may hear, and that is the statewide effort to elect Democrats. So you've got statewide strategy, as you would hope, and then you also have local strategy executing in Arlington, and that, folks, is how we turn Virginia blue. And so without further ado, I want to turn things over to our 2021 joint campaign team. And I believe the person from that team who is going to be providing these initial slides is none other than our Commonwealth's attorney and elected co-chair of the joint campaign, Prissa Dagani-Tafti.
Hello, friends. I'm so excited to be on joint campaign this year. Of all of the extraordinary events we've lived through in the last 2 years, the one story that has gone virtually unnoticed is the story of Virginia. In the last 2 years, Virginia, the place where Black people were first enslaved, Virginia, the home of Robert E. Lee, Virginia, the heart of the Confederacy, abolished the death penalty, passed sensible gun safety laws, protected the rights of LGBTQ people, protected the rights of women to control their bodies, expanded Medicare, and expanded voting rights. On every single one of these issues, every other Southern state has gone backward in time. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. Virginia is the standout. Virginia made this progress because of the work we did to create a unified democratic government, because Arlingtonians showed up and outvoted everybody else for a unified democratic government. So what you and I are going to be working together to do in the next 4 months, along with the team, which I'm going to introduce in just a moment, is going to shape the future of Virginia. Because as Arlington goes, so goes Virginia. So for joint campaign, this is our message and this is our battle cry. As Arlington goes, so goes Virginia. And so I want to introduce you to the team who's going into battle with you and for you. There's me, of course. There's Dan Matthews, who's working on collaterals, Paul Ruiz, communications, Scott McConnell, field, and Callan Macbeth, who you just voted to be the co-chair for fundraising and events. We are going to have our four, and I'm going to put them in the chat so that you can save the dates, events. The chili cook-off, which is going to be Monday, September 6th, honoring a distinguished Democrat on Sunday, September 26th, the barbecue meet and greet with candidates, which is going to be free to everyone on Saturday, October 16th, and the Golden Gala on Saturday, October 23rd. And we will be working with AYD to create an AYD event in there as well. So we are going to need volunteers to do all of this. And so we would love to invite you to be co-chairs of the events, especially for the gold card events, but for everything, for creating group cards, for getting them out, for sample ballots, for messengers, gold card events, which are my favorite, and yard signs and social media and graphics. So we definitely need your help. We will welcome all of your help. And I am putting these dates in, which I'm having trouble doing. There we go. So that everyone has them. Mark your calendars. Get ready to buy your gold card event cards. And as goes Arlington, so goes Virginia, right?
Absolutely. That's right. Well, we're really excited. Thank you so much, Parissa, Dan, Paul, Scott, and Kellen for leading the charge there. We're excited to see what you guys come up with just as soon as we get that full list of candidates. And I do want to confirm, because I'm not sure if the poll from the second vote that we took was flashed on the screen, but that did pass. So Mary Cadera is officially our school board endorsee. So that's one down, and I think what, 5 or 6, probably a little bit more than that to go in terms of candidates. So thank you so much. We will look forward to it. If you are interested in volunteering with the joint campaign in a big way, if you want to be an event co-chair, if you want to help with yard signs, you know already that you are in it to win it. Please email jointcampaign@arlingtondemocrats.org, and the crack team that you see listed there on the slide will put you to work. And we're excited to get started. All right, I want to move us right along then to precinct operations and turn things over to, I believe, our chair of precinct operations, Carol Fontaine.
I am here. Wow. Parissa, that was so awesome. I am just so excited to be following you. As goes Arlington, so goes Virginia. Wow. That was really great. Good evening, Arlington Democrats. It's really good to be with you all. Thanks to newcomers and everyone for joining the battle to preserve our democracy. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Bowles to be a precinct leader in Ashton Heights. So what is a precinct leader, you might ask? Precinct leaders are integral parts of our precinct teams. Precinct leaders do not have any baseline responsibilities. They do what they can when they can, but they are super volunteers, and Colleen is a prime example of that. Precinct leaders work closely with precinct captains to build a community, strengthen our democratic presence, and ultimately to get out the vote in the precinct. Next slide, please. So this begs the question, for those who don't already know, what is a precinct captain? Jeff Lawson shared with us a few months ago that the role of precinct captain has never been more important than it is today. Precinct captains are elected members of the Democratic Party. And okay, say it with me. What did Harry Truman say? The most important job I ever had was being a precinct captain. Yay. We count on precinct captains to be the face of the Democratic Party in their neighborhoods. And you can say this with me too. What is Arlington's job? Arlington's job is to be the difference in keeping Virginia blue. We must get out every single last Democratic vote in Arlington to offset the other parts of the state. As goes Arlington, so goes Virginia. And much of this work happens at the precinct level. If you're interested in learning more, please contact me at precinctoperations@arlingtondemocrats.org. You don't have to live in a precinct to be a precinct captain or to be well, you should live in the precinct to be a precinct leader. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the vacancies that we have. And I neglected to fill in the locations of the polling places where the precincts vote, but hopefully most of you know those. If you see any precinct or polling location where you know there might be people who would be willing to be a precinct captain, please let them know and have them contact me. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna shout out the name and somebody else shout out where they vote. Garfield Park.
They
Okay,
vote in the Garfield Park Apartments. at
okay,
Washington Boulevard.
thank you. And AUSA votes on Wilson Boulevard.
Yes,
Crystal-
in the AUSA building.
Right, and Crystal Plaza.
We vote
Crystal
in
Plaza Apartments
Crystal Plaza Apartments.
on
and-
South Clark Street.
And Wilson,
East School.
I think that's in Roslyn.
Have to speak.
right,
At the at the atrium there,
right.
art atrium, Wilson.
Ballston,
Arlington Traditional School.
right. Roslyn,
The Heights School, 1601 Wilson Boulevard.
and Madison votes at the Madison Community Center, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, that I didn't fill that in. My bad. Anyway, we
I
really,
like the
really,
interactive quiz in the middle of the meeting.
You should give out cash prizes.
yeah, and isn't my team great? So we do want to fill these precinct captain slots. So please, please, please be thinking of people you know who live in these precincts or who are near these precincts or who might be willing to be a precinct captain, even if they don't live there. Okay. Next slide, please. So poll greeting for the June 8th primary. This may sound a little bit silly, but we're looking for volunteers to recruit more volunteers. I really like the saying, as goes Arlington, so goes Virginia. I sort of have a saying that is, it takes volunteers to recruit volunteers. The November elections, as Parissa said, are critical. And as you know, we will need a lot of volunteers to get out the vote. This is going to be another tough year, and the joint campaign is going to see us through, but they're going to need volunteers. And so what we're doing is lining up poll greeters during the AM and PM rush hours on June 8th, not to hand out sample ballots, but to recruit volunteers to help with the fall campaign. And the fall campaign, I know Parissa will say this is true, is going to start on June 9. So if you can take a shift, please go to arlingtondemocrats.org/primary poll greeting. And the next bit up for precinct ops, I'm going to turn it over to our dynamic duo of Richard Skinner and Mark Fiumara. And I think Richard is up next.
I am.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Carol. Arlington has more than 2,000 multi-unit buildings. Majority of Arlington residents live in multi-unit buildings. We have a lot of challenges reaching these buildings, both because so many of them are inaccessible for canvassing, and then the populations there both tend to be more democratic, but they're less likely to vote. They tend to be more transient. They tend to be younger. So we need volunteers to share voting information while following their building's protocols. Next slide. So it's going to be especially important in 2021. There are an awful lot of people living in the metro corridors, living on Columbia Pike, who have never voted in a gubernatorial election in Virginia before. We're not living in Virginia the last time we had one. And there's certainly going to be an awful lot of them for whom this is going to be the first election where Donald Trump was neither a candidate nor president. So we need to prevent a drop in turnout among these people. So Right now, we're looking to recruit new building ambassadors. If you know anyone who would be interested in doing that, please contact us at mubs@arlingtondemocrats.org. We're also planning on using Hustle and maybe postcards as well to try to recruit more people in these buildings. These buildings tend to be highly transient, so we always need to be recruiting. And then we're also looking at other ways of improving access. We have some good colleagues who are working on a letter that we could share with property management companies, try to get some sort of overall corporate policy that would help us in these buildings. And then we've talked with voter support about maybe doing some more outdoor events in areas with lots of multi-unit buildings. I think this summer is going to be an exciting time for all that because a lot of people are going to want to get outside and have a good time again. And multi-unit buildings tend to have a lot of young people who like to socialize. So, Mark, you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I'd like to update. There's actually over 3,200 MUBs in Arlington. And I think I've told some of you before, I downloaded the database from the county, and in there contains the latitude and longitude. And what I did is I created a Google Map link and I started looking at garden style apartments only, looking at accessibility. And about 80% of them are inaccessible. That is, there is a single door to multiple apartments. And as you know, with today's is heightened security issues and things like that, it's going to be very tough for people who don't live in the building to get into the buildings. And this is something we need to really address, to emphasize what both Carol and Richard have said. We've got to turn people out. We've got to get information into the hands of the residents in those buildings. As Richard said, more than half of the people in the county live in a MUB. I'm willing to bet it's probably closer to 70%. So this is a huge, as we used to say in the Navy, a target-rich environment. And we just have to come together and figure out how are we going to get into these buildings? How are we going to get information to these people? And, you know, we'd like to hear your ideas. Building ambassadors, you know, is a great program. But as I've said before, I sent 100 letters to the Crystal Plaza precinct asking for people to volunteer. And I got one person back, and in her building, she can't post notices. It's the management's policy. So it's really tough. And again, this is a huge and critically important area for Arlington DEMS. If we're going to keep Virginia blue, we've got to get these people informed. We got to get them turned out. Carol, back to you.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Jill. That's it for Precinct Ops. Join us, please join us. We need you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Precinct Operations team. And yes, becoming a building ambassador is a great way to get involved. If you live in one of those buildings that Mark and Richard just described, we could use your help. We'll provide all the supplies. We just need your sort of shoe leather to help us get that information into the buildings within policy. So if you can help out with that, please email mubs@arlingtondemocrats.org. All right, moving us right along here, we're going to turn things over to the head of voter support, Marcia Johnston.
Hey, Arlington Democrats, right? So we're moving into our last weekend before the primary on Tuesday. So just a reminder. So this is pretty simple for me because we've been doing our voter registration for the last couple of months. And so this is where the rubber meets the road. So glad to see that Precinct Ops will be doing some voter, just trying to get volunteers at the polls. That would be great. We're gonna need them. Next slide, please. It's just, so I just wanted to let you guys know early voting still is going on tonight. Well, let's see, sorry, just ended. Whoops, so Thursday, yes, till 7. It was, and at the, but we still have tomorrow, 8 to 5, just at courthouse. And then Saturday, is the second Saturday of voting, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Courthouse Plaza. We should have people at the farmer's market at Courthouse. And we are still on the hunt for folks that really want to make that tabling location a hot location for the summer. So if you want to do that, you can talk to Outreach, you can talk to Vicky, you can talk to myself, Jean, Jack. So this is a project for the summer, but for the moment, we are staffing it, and we should have someone there on Saturday to tell people, hey, you can go vote right over there. So, and tell them what they're voting for in case they don't know. So there we go. That's what voter support is about right now. We will have a voter registrations for the Eid event in July. I think it's July, or it's, yeah, July 20th. So, but we will be a little bit active in the summer, but definitely hit the ground running at the end of the summer, running into the fall. So everybody, thanks so much. That's it for me, Jill.
All right, quick update from voter support, but appreciate all of the work to help get people informed about the upcoming primary, voter registration deadlines, and more. Thank you so much, Marcia and team. Okay, I'm gonna move us right along to Outreach. And I think it might be Vicky who's providing the report tonight.
Mike's gonna lead us off.
I never get it right.
we always keep you guessing.
Hey, Jill. Yeah, normally it's Vicky. I just wanted to jump in very briefly, and I think we'll probably talk about it in membership. I believe we're going to do a morning mug on this, but I wanted to call everyone's attention to the Civilian Review Board. I have just a quick statement. I'll pass it back to Vicky. So in a statement released from the county today during its May recess meeting, Arlington County Board authorized a public hearing in July to consider an ordinance to establish a program of police oversight comprised of a law enforcement civilian review board and independent policing auditor. Throughout June and July, the board will consider different models of a civilian review board with the goal of creating a CRB, an independent policing auditor function that can enhance community trust and collaboration with Arlington County Police Department. So I just jumped in real quick to say that Outreach is in the process of deciding what next steps could look like for the Democratic Party of Arlington. The Virginia State NAACP, as well as the Virginia ACLU, have called on Arlington County to give the Civilian Review Board investigative and disciplinary powers. To quote the Virginia ACLU, they said civilian review boards can only be effective if given investigative powers and the authority to discipline local police. Civilian review boards help increase trust and public safety with communities. Their powers should be expanded and not limited. So tonight, Arlington Dems, I call on you to weigh in on this. Let your county board members know the state or the Commonwealth Legislature last year gave local jurisdictions this power. And this is an issue that's extremely important to communities of color. So we encourage you to do some research. They want to hear from you. They definitely let us know that they want to hear from broad swaths of the community. So looking forward to the morning mug, and hopefully people can weigh in on this issue. So thanks so much, Jill. I'll kick it back over to you, Vicky.
Thanks.
We are working on a morning mug on that topic. So more to come on that. Sorry, Vicky.
No.
That was me, sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Mike, for that comment. Next slide, please. Farmers market. So we are still looking for volunteers to set up shop at our farmers market tables. So at the markets listed on the screen, if you are interested, or if you know somebody who would be interested, please email Jean or Jack, and we are very excited to welcome you to the farmers markets team. Next slide, please. Blue family. So I'm going to kick it off to Josh, if he's still on here.
I am.
All right. Floor is yours.
Vicky. So Blue Families has been sort of slowly ramping up for what I think Parissa very accurately described as a critical election where Arlington has a incredibly important role. The first big news is that we are finally going back in person with our potluck picnic after a one-year COVID-induced hiatus. Save the date now. It is September 25th from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at the Lion Park Community Center. We're very excited to finally be in person, and activities and special guests are TBD, but wanted everyone to have that on their calendar and don't plan anything around that. You will definitely want to be there. Also save the date. We are partnering with Challenging Racism, a local nonprofit, to present a seminar on Arlington school, the history of Arlington school segregation, and what we can do to ameliorate it, on August 25th. That's a Saturday. More details to come there, but that's another save the date. And we'll put that up on Facebook as well. But we have limited enrollment. It's limited to about 25 people. So sign up early once that goes out. Postcards. We did the voter registration postcards earlier in the spring, and now we are transitioning to our more traditional postcards to voters, targeting specific House of Delegates races. 2 years ago, we adopted 14 candidates and wrote about 14,000 postcards for them. And so we're hand selecting, candidates who are either incumbents that are vulnerable or challengers in flippable seats, or seats where boosting turnout will help all the statewide candidates as well, even if they may be long shots. So the link is up. You can sign up for postcards. The postcards will be in. You won't get the postcards till next week, but sign up now to claim your packet, and we're going to stockpile them and send them out around the time that early voting starts. And then lastly, stay tuned. We already had a canvassing event for Josh Cole down in Fredericksburg a couple weeks ago, and we're going to be doing more of those canvassing events, probably at a clip of about once a month until we really accelerate in August and September as voting starts. And then in-person postcard parties are going to start very soon as well. So it'll be good to see everyone in person. And yeah, that's the news from Blue Families.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Exciting things. I have saved the date. It's in my calendar. I'm
Awesome.
ready. Next slide, please. Labor Caucus update. Next slide. So from the labor side of things, working with the coalition at George Mason University to adopt responsible contractor language, we've done a lot of work within the caucus to look at that language, and as well as supporting the tenant organizing that Bert Bayau is doing at Southern Towers. As every Wednesday morning, the Labor Caucus is out in front of Senator Warner's house, encouraging him to sign on to the PRO Act. This is in conjunction with a bunch of other labor groups and Friends of Labor. If you're interested in joining the weekly Zoom meetings Thursday at 6 p.m., please email Keith Willis and he'd be happy to add you to the email list. Next slide, please. For the business side, I'm going to kick it off to Arbra.
Hi, everyone. So we are always focusing on supporting our small businesses, especially as we're opening up from COVID. Let's not let up. June has Father's Day, it's Pride Month. If you have a local business that you love, that you want others to know about, please always share it in the monthly chat or reach out to us at the email at the bottom, and we'll try to do a social media post highlighting them. My family had Super Pollo tonight. We're also looking to re-engage with all of the bids and neighborhood organizations that help promote local businesses. So we have some volunteers who are looking to do that, but if this is something that interests you, again, please reach out. We had a really great event with the Disabilities Caucus. That was a House of Delegates primary debate. We really enjoyed partnering with another outreach caucus, and so looking for other chances to do that. And our next monthly, our monthly meetings are always the second Tuesday at 7 p.m. So this month that happens to be primary day. So volunteer, vote, and then join us. But we always welcome involvement. We're a pretty small group, but we are very engaged and hoping to grow. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Arbra. Next slide, please. For our AAPI caucus, as we just rounded out Asian American Heritage Month, I'm going to throw it over to Sangeeta.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Next slide, please. So as Vicki had mentioned, May was Asian American Heritage Month. So in response to that, we put out a recipe booklet of local Arlingtonians and their family recipes. And our very own Chris Sarosa submitted a cucumber namasu, and I submitted a Kerala coconut chicken curry, which is delicious, by the way. And then we had a successful voter registration event on May 15th. I unfortunately was not there because I was traveling, but Vicki and was there, Chris, and Praveen also made a guest appearance to, support us. And we're continuously doing our Instagram local business shout out. So we've highlighted a couple local businesses. Most recently was Thai Square on Columbia Pike. And then I'll be going to, or I'm going to be posting on about the Indian grocery, A1 Indian Grocery, which is actually the only Indian grocery store in Arlington, just FYI, and I go there very often, obviously, because I'm Indian. And then lastly, we're going to postpone our meeting this month we're going to put it have it on the 13th rather than the 20th, since the 20th is Father's Day. But that's it. And I'll be poll grading as well. So in Barcroft, in my role as precinct captain, sorry.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, what a great month full of delightful food cuisines to celebrate Asian American Heritage Month. Thank you, Sangeeta. Next slide, please. For the Latino Caucus update, I just want to say the voter registration we had on May 15th was actually a combined AAPI caucus and Latino caucus event. So, if you're in a caucus and you want to partner, we can make that happen. We're really interested in having the caucuses work on partnership events and efforts together. So let us know. And I'm going to throw it to Kathleen McSweeney to give us the update from the Latino Caucus.
Thanks so much, Vicki. Thank you, Arlington Democrats. So great to see you tonight. Well, sort of see you tonight. In June, we sort of ramped down our efforts to get Latinos and other people around the Arlington Mill and Buckingham neighborhoods registered for vaccinations, because vaccinations opened up, and we have them available here in Arlington now at 3 sites regularly, and walk-ins are allowed. So we were able to then ramp up with focusing on the school board caucus and to working to make that accessible to communities of color. Part of this effort meant building or consolidating alliances with grassroots organizations such as ASHPA. And if you don't know who ASHPA is, they're the basically the Latino PTA here in Arlington, and they work across several schools. And we worked side by side with other members of the Arlington Democratic Caucus, assisting voters at Café Sazón and talking to passerbys about the school board caucus. We also reached out to the candidates. We provided them with questions and provided a bilingual document with Q&A to the public via our Facebook group. All in all, it was a month of hard work engaging voters in the democratic process, and we look forward to continue to do that. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kathleen. And I think next slide, we have a few pictures of the in-person voting at Café Sazón. If you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Yes. And next slide. All the information if you want to get involved or hear about our efforts in the Latino community in Arlington. Next slide, please. Great. Michael Angeloni, are you on?
I see
Daniel
Dwayne
is on.
Davis.
Daniel is on.
Oh,
Michael is.
perfect.
Michael's out today.
Perfect. Thanks, Daniel.
Yes, so Michael was unable to make it today, but we definitely wanted to start by sharing that we also very much enjoyed our collaboration with the Business and Labor Caucus and with the Alexandria DEMS on holding the debates for the two contested House of Delegates districts in Arlington. We thank everybody who attended. I believe there was something on order. There was very good attendance, and I think that it is an example of the kind of partnerships that are possible between our various constituency caucuses. A recording is available for anybody who wants to watch it. Next slide. So in addition to that, we are currently working on our next event, which is likely to be an event on healthcare issues related to people with disabilities. We have in recent years seen more and more evidence that there's health disparities that in terms of access to care, quality of care, that impact people with disabilities. So we are looking to have an event on it, on this topic. If you have any speakers you'd like to suggest, or any topics you'd like to, subtopics you'd like to suggest, please don't hesitate to let Michael or myself know. That is date and time to be determined. I would suspect within the next couple months. Next slide. Okay, so with that, I'll just pass it on. We will look for our next caucus meeting later this month, and we will make sure to get it on the calendar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. And we are officially in Pride Month. So to kick it off and tell us what's going on the Equality Caucus side, I'm going to throw it to Jonathan.
Thank you, Vicki. Hi, everyone. We can actually go to the next slide. And so as Vicki mentioned, we are officially in Pride Month. So happy Pride to everyone. We're really excited to be kicking off the month with a couple of events that I'll talk about shortly. But please reach out if you'd like to partner for an event. Please follow our Facebook. We're going to try to post a little bit of history between the LGBTQ community in Arlington and more broadly. So really looking forward to working with all of you. And so next slide. We were able to have a great meeting on May 18th, kind of discussing the importance of the Equality Caucus, how that fits into Arlington, especially because we are so fortunate within the LGBTQ community to live in a space where we don't encounter too many instances of discrimination. So we're really trying to make sure that we're an advocacy group within Arlington, but also more broadly for our very diverse community. From that meeting, we were also finally able to have a set meeting time. So that will be the last Tuesdays of the month at 7 p.m. So that will be firm, and we look forward to having you all there instead of just every now and then trying to figure out when our meetings were going to be. Be on the lookout for a Pride social hour towards the end of the month. We're trying to work with local businesses to figure out where that would be best to kind of have a meet and greet outdoors, socially distant, so we could all be there, get to know each other, since our community really strives and enjoys social events. And then we have reached out to several of the other outreach caucuses in the spirit of coalition building to kind of have conversations about the intersection between the LGBTQ community and those communities. So be on the lookout for those specific details. And then, so our next meeting will be June 29th at 7 p.m. Looking forward to having you guys there. Thanks, Vicki.
Thank you, Jonathan. Looking forward to supporting you guys this month and for that Pride Social Hour. Next slide, please. All right, Interfaith, some exciting stuff. I'm going to turn it over to Fatima.
Okay, thanks, Vicki. Wow, you know, all of these are, you know, such a hard act to follow, you know, so much going on with the Latino caucus and the Equality Caucus and business and labor. I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm just so thrilled to see my fellow caucuses doing so much work. And so I'll get right into it. On the first slide, as you can see, there's our email address, interfaithcaucus@arlingtondemocrats.org. We are always looking for people to join us. Our meetings are yes, we do have them weekly, every Tuesday from 7:30 till usually they go till 9. But if we have a particularly engaging discussion, sometimes they go later. And of course we have our Facebook group page. So if you haven't already, please, you know, join our Facebook group page. We're always looking for new members. We're always looking for new content, new levels of engagement. So you're always invited to join us. Next slide, please. Okay, so I am going to once again talk about our signature event, which is our 4th annual Interfaith Eid celebration. Make sure it's on your calendars. It's on Sunday, July 25th. There seems to be a lot of 25ths for activities this year. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but I think it's kind of cool. So our celebration this year, unlike in previous years where we usually have it an evening event, it's going to be on the weekend. And I think, you know, this will be a little more kid friendly, a little more family friendly. And of course, outdoors. It's an in-person event. And, you know, we'll have the usual food, the faith leaders, the music, the family, the fun, voter registration. And we'll also be inviting, as we did in the second year, nonprofit organizations that are politically aligned with us and aligned with us in terms of values to also be there. So make sure to save the date in your calendars. It's going to be a real fun time, so you don't want to miss it. Next slide, please. Okay, so just wanted to I wonder what happened. What happened to the pictures? There they are. Thank you. Just took a while to get there. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about our Interfaith Caucus Combating Hate. And this is the second part of our series Combating Hate and Bigotry. And we had 2 authors, Sabia Rahman, who is Muslim, and Walter Ruby, who is Jewish, to discuss their new book that just came out, very timely, called We Refuse to Be Enemies, and talks about interfaith friendships, building trust between faith communities, and ultimately about building community. So if you missed it, you can still see it on our YouTube channel, and you can see the link on the slide. So, okay. And I think that's it. Just one more thing. We are presently exploring, the Interfaith Caucus is presently exploring possibilities to support the White House's vaccination drive. And we think that that's one of those things that, you know, we can, that's probably going to be most successful if we partner, as Vicki has suggested, you know, in terms of, you know, partnering among our caucuses. And that's, I think that that would be a wonderful example. So anyway, we'll reach out to a couple of caucuses to discuss this offline. And that's it for me. Thank you. Back to you, Vicki.
Thank you so much, Fatima. And I think, yeah, just a moment of acknowledgement of all the hard work that our caucuses are doing, especially, you know, as we move out of pandemic virtual times and thinking towards really bringing our communities together. It's really exciting, and I'm excited to see where we go in the next year. Next slide, please. Thank you. And for the Mill Vets update, I'm going to throw it to Charlie.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the military veterans. There's our slide right here. We're going to do our monthly food drive. We continue doing that. on June 12th. It's the second Saturday of every month at the Barcroft Family Rec Center at 4200 South 4 Mile Run Drive. That's also where the 4 Mile Run Precinct votes. But our veterans have our vehicles there, and people just drive by and drop off their food between 9:45 and 10:35. So please swing around and join us. Our next caucus meeting will be Saturday, June 26th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. And you can drop me an email and I can get you connected with that. Last month, we had a really good meeting, a caucus meeting. We had the leadership of the Democratic Party of Virginia military veterans, the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary all came and joined us, as well as the chair of the 8th District, Margaret Horner, joined us. So it was a really good meeting, exchange of ideas, and we gave our chair and deputy chair of the Arlington Democrats an idea to mull over about something the veterans might be able to do with the joint campaign. I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And one more update from the outreach side is the county fair, which is part of outreach, which is coming this August and being headed up by Laura Saul Edwards. So keep an eye out for that. And that is it from outreach. Back to you, Jill.
That is a lot. Thank you all so much for all of the tremendous work. And yeah, I'm excited too to see how outreach explodes into the community when we're finally able to get back in person, along with all of our other functional areas. But it's always really great to see all the tremendous and dynamic work happening within the caucuses and outreach in general. So thanks so much, everybody. All right, want to keep us moving along, and of course on to another important functional area, which is Beyond Arlington, which is our efforts to make a difference outside of Arlington's borders in races that matter. And let me see is Rose Fabia with us?
I'm here.
All right, our intrepid Beyond Arlington chair, take it away.
Before I get into phone banking and canvassing, I just want to tell you about that. I've been coordinating with Izzy on Saturday Morning Mugs and with the campaigns to get them as guest speakers for July and August. And we were successful in getting Wendy Goditis, Paul Syker, Dan Helmer, and Josh Cole to speak in the Saturday Morning Mugs. The dates will be announced through Izzy, but I'm really happy about that. They're very excited to spend some time with Arlington Democrats and answer anybody's questions and update you on all their campaigns. So on to the phone banking. We have two phone banking opportunities so far. That's Wendy DeGuitis. She's on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 8. And then we continue to host for Paul Syker on Thursdays from 6 to 8. And they're both doing their thing of recruiting volunteers, getting the word out about their campaigns, their nominees. They're not competing in the primaries. Next slide. Also in canvassing, as Josh had mentioned, the Blue Families Beyond Arlington had canvassed for Josh Cole for his kickoff on May 22nd. We feel that it was a pretty good success. We brought 11 volunteers for Josh Cole, and now he has, from what I see from his campaign, he's canvassing on June 12th and the 26th from 2 to 4. And so it's starting, canvassing is starting. Dan Helmer is doing it every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's Fairfax, it's Centerville, and it's a lot of fun if you like canvassing like I do. I will be also canvassing for, I'm not sure it's there, but also Paul Syker is starting his campaign. And this Saturday, he's going to be canvassing at Percival at noontime. And I'll be there to help out with Paul Syker's campaign. And he's also been endorsed by every district, and they're going to start doing a training for canvassers starting on Monday or Wednesday. And if anyone's interested, they could text me and I'll send you the link to that. It's going to be pretty exciting. Lastly, Indivisible Waterfront is hosting Brianna Sewell, which is the candidate for District 51, and Paul Syker for District 33 on June 10th at 7 p.m. They do a wonderful job introducing them, interviewing them and taking questions from the audience. I think it's going to be a wonderful event to get their names out and to get people to get to know these two great candidates. They're both in very competitive races. And Brianna is with Prince William and Paul Syker with Loudoun, Frederick, and Clark County. Both are in, it's just, they need our help and they need our support. And it'd be great if you could click in and zoom in for this Sewell and Syker event. It's announced in their Arlington DEMS Facebook website and with Beyond Arlington. And that's it.
All right, well, that is terrific. Thank you so much, Rose, for making those connections to these terrific campaigns. These are definitely races that will matter to keeping the General Assembly or to keeping the House of Delegates in Democratic hands. So while we'll be fighting hard in the joint campaign here in Arlington, we will also be making sure that we are helping our neighbors in these important jurisdictions to re-elect these great Democrats and to flip seats where we can. So thank you, Rose, for leading the charge on that. Please do get involved and help her out. Phone calls are easy. And as we get later into the season, we will be doing some great in-person canvassing as well. So lots of ways to get involved.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to keep on moving to the Arlington Young Democrats report. Who am I turning things over to? Is it Matt?
Yep, Matt's going to take it.
Mike. I am very excited to be here. We are less than 1 week away from the primary. I know a lot of people are excited about that. But let's talk about what AYD is doing or has done and will do this next month. So next slide. So we had a Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month social hour, which was actually a Jeopardy game that was designed by our community service director, Shiv. And it was really fun, a lot of fun. We had the Democratic Asian American Voters of Virginia chair and former AYD president Praveen Mayan with us that night. And we had a lot of fun. He gave us a few remarks, and we saw some remarks that our Democratic Party of Virginia chair, Susan Swecker, said about the AAPI Heritage Month celebration. So we had a lot of fun hearing from that and then playing some Jeopardy. So we're trying to do more of that in the future. So we'll see what we can do next time. So next slide. We also had our Arlington County Board and School Board debates. So we had of course, Caucus Carantonis and Chanda Chun talking about county board, and then we had our school board. Obviously, school board is not really relevant anymore since that election already happened, but if you want to do those debates, you can go and check them out on our Facebook page. We publish those so that you can watch, and all the questions that we asked were on there. All the questions that we had asked were actually crowdsourced from our membership. So you're hearing directly from our members to the candidates on what AYD cares about. Next slide. So coming up, we're actually going back in person. So we are starting with a celebration with the DC Young Dems for Juneteenth. So we are very excited to be partnering with them. We are going to be doing it down actually in Southeast DC with the DC Young Dems at a rooftop that our party rep, Mike Heminger, has been able to supply us with. So we're very excited to see, our friends across the river, as well as celebrate this really important holiday. We are extremely excited to be able to see each other in person. So we're going to try out and see how people feel about it, and we'll go from there. Next slide. And of course, happy Pride, as everyone else has said, but we are going to be doing a Pride celebration at Clarendon's Beach Shack in Falls Church in partnership with the Falls Church Young Dems, the Alexandria Young Dems, and the Fairfax Young Dems. We are also going to obviously be doing this in person, but we kind of want to make sure that we are getting that regional collaboration across the board with the Young Dems. We want to make sure that, you know, we know where everyone else is and where what our friends are doing outside of our county, you know, just so we don't feel so siloed here, and make sure that when we need to partner up in the future, we can do that with our neighbors. So we're celebrating Pride with all of our friends. So we'll see who can make it out there. And of course, that's going to be on June 22nd. Next slide. And of course, we are planning our annual membership cookout in July. We have a tentative date of July 24th, but we don't know if that will be the actual date. We're still planning that out, but we are working on some fun things for that, hoping to make this into sort of an AYD kind of homecoming theme with some of our alumni coming back to visit us here in Arlington, and we can, you know, kind of start off the campaigning season right in July. So that should be pretty fun. But you know, we have what, 6 days left until the primary. We, of course, just like the Arlington Democrats, don't get involved in primaries, but we're encouraging everyone to go out and vote. Make sure that you know, you get your choice on the ballot. We are highly encouraging everyone to do that as soon as possible. But we're very excited. We're hoping to see, you know, higher Young Dem turnout like we did in the fall with the 2020 general. So, you know, hopefully we can get our young folks out there to vote. And then, you know, come June 9th, we're all on the same team again, and we all got to be working hard to get our candidates across the finish line in the fall, because we see what's on the other side and we know that we can't go back to that. So we will be working hard, as we always do in the Arlington Young Dems, to knock doors, make phone calls, send texts for all of our candidates here in Arlington, as well as throughout the Commonwealth. We're very excited to see who those will be, but you know, whoever will be, we'll be working to elect Democrats. So thank you again, Jill, as always, for having us, and thank you to everyone here for the support. And please, please send us some help if you can, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for all the terrific work that AYD is doing in the community. We greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to all these fun events as well. So mark your calendars, folks, because while it is AYD, it's open to people of all ages. They let me come, they'll let you come too, and they're a good time. So thank you so much. We'll keep us moving right along to our county board update. So every month we're delighted to welcome either a representative from the county board or the school board to give us an update about what is going on in the county. This month is a county board month, and I believe that we are joined by the chair of the county board, Matt DeFerranti.
Yes, I'm glad to be with you, Jill. Thanks very much. It is 8:14. I pledge to you that by 8:30, I will be done, at least. Try to be quick. So I'll give you an update. We'll go ahead to the next slide. And I wanted just to mention that April 7th was the last time I was before you. So in the interim, we passed a budget. So I'm putting in the chat a summary of our budget, if you want to look at that link. But affordable housing was a critical priority. Of course, responding to COVID was a critical priority. You can see other priorities there. I encourage you to look at our budget guidance. It also included an additional more than $250,000 to work on climate issues, electric vehicles. We added significant funds for our Chief Race and Equity Officer, put in more than $500,000 for mental health. There's a number of other priorities that have been talked about tonight that we added, and we included $50,000 for voting on 2 Sundays here in Arlington in the fall, which certainly may be critical. And so that's our budget. That was most of the month of April. The rest of these slides is going to talk mostly about May, so we can go to the next slide. And I think we're all seeing the in-person events on the 26th with the ice cream social, and all the in-person is coming. But, you know, January 15th, when the supply of vaccines was low, I can tell you that I was, and we on the county board were working our hardest to secure more vaccines, and also working to communicate about the supply challenges. What a difference 5 months have made. Arlington has responded big, and we are right near the top of the percentages of counties in Virginia that have been vaccinated. You can see the percentages in these bullets. I actually think that 0.5%, 0.05 it should be, or 0.5% positivity rate has fallen further. We had one case in Arlington yesterday, reported one positive case. We haven't had a death in a fatality in a number of days. And it's really over the last 3 weeks to a month, we have come way down in hospitalizations. Even one fatality is too many, but we are finally winning the battle on COVID. We have more to do because only that we need to get past Joe Biden's goal of 70%. We also are going to need to vaccinate when the time comes, 2 to 11-year-olds. But we have been doing the work to make sure that vaccines are available, walk-ups are available. We're trying to make sure that the events are in neighborhoods where there is key need and where historically we've seen disproportionate cases and hospitalizations and fatalities. I was volunteering yesterday on COVID vaccinations. I helped at Walter Reed, a Spanish speaker, find the clinic. And I can tell you, every time someone gets a vaccine, it makes me very happy. You can see the link for more information. And we try to publish and get out as much as we can the locations for each week. Next slide. Mike mentioned earlier, and for the 70 or so, 73 of you who are still here, we actually had our first conversation regarding as a county board and advertised broadly so that we can consider over the coming, it's now about 40 days through to our July county board meetings, a full discussion of what should be included in a civilian review board. There is subpoena power in our draft. There is discussion ongoing about how we should structure investigatory powers. And there will be, and I'll put in the chat, if I can just add one more link, I'll put in the chat, we had that press release. I think Mike mentioned it and others may have mentioned it in the chat, but we had a press release this afternoon. We're going to be hearing from our public defender, our Commonwealth's attorney, but most importantly, in this case, our police practices subcommittee group that worked on the civilian review board regarding their recommendations. Their recommendations were different from the county manager's proposed draft, but we ensured that we drafted the ordinance broadly enough that we have the discretion to do full investigatory powers, and we will be debating, discussing. We have both a work session on June 10th, and we are going to have, I believe it is the 22nd of June, we're going to have a specific listening session on the Civilian Review Board. This is part of our work on racial justice and criminal justice reform, and it's important to all of us on the board. Ultimately, I voted and I felt it was the best approach going forward to advertise so that we can, and do it broadly, so we can have the full discussion and turn the broad community conversation into legislative language so we can put this in practice. Like I said, I will see if I can just drop in the chat in the coming couple of minutes today's press release from 5 o'clock this afternoon. So we can go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so another huge issue that's coming up in our June meetings, which will be Saturday, June 12th. And for those listening carefully, we will be in person on Saturday, June 12th. We have safety and we have the CDC guidance. All of us on the county board have been vaccinated. And so we will be in person to start the discussion on collective bargaining. And we will, at that meeting over the coming days, you will see a draft ordinance, a first draft of an ordinance put forward. And we will do, as we did on the Civilian Review Board, we will do what's called a request to advertise, a first draft that will be first considered in June and finally considered in July. All of us on the county board support collective bargaining. There are some parts of collective bargaining that, for example, many on the call will know that some police union contracts are, in my view, at least, overly broad. And so we want the criminal justice work that we're doing and our support of labor to work in coordination. And so that's what we're working on together. So, that is collective bargaining. Stay tuned. That will be the June meeting, the Saturday portion of the June meeting. We'll go ahead to the next slide. Many on the call may know of this, but it is going to be a huge part of some of the work that we're doing. It is symbolic in significant ways, but it is also an important step that all of the county board is committed to taking. And it is based on a community process that the Lee Highway Alliance has led. But we will be advertising in June and taking the step in July of changing the name of Lee Highway. And I think that most on this call don't need extensive thoughts on this. But even if you consider Mr. Lee's legacy in the most generous of terms, his inhumanity towards fellow human beings on the issue of slavery or loyalty to the Virginia's then racist ideals needs, in my view, a different name. So we will be renaming. The process is going to move forward starting in June. We will do some consideration because there are some costs to this, and you may see critiques, and that's fair. Costs are important for us to understand and analyze, but ultimately, this is a key step that I know that I am likely, almost certain, to support as we work forward on some of the change that we need in light of the last year and a half, but also in light of an honest and fair and just understanding of our history and where Arlington Democrats' values and ideals are. So that's another step that's coming in June and July. Next slide. Most of you will have followed ARL now, and I think at either the April meeting or the February meeting, I shared with you my thoughts about the Serrano, which is an apartment building on the west end of Columbia Pike. I've been working on this for a long time. It is, I will and do take responsibility for addressing this at a better level and fixing the housing conditions that are there. I am not, of course, alone. The county board is united on this and our staff is working on it, but we need to step up. There are problems at the Serrano that we need to address. We have replaced in February the property manager, but we needed additional changes. And I want to credit, there's a number of community groups, but really it's Yana Valenzuela, Julio Basurto, also the NAACP and others who further pushed for this. This must change and it must do urgently. It is my top priority right now. There are mice in the building and there are other concerns on communication and with the HVAC system. That's not acceptable. For those on the call and paying close attention, in this case, the president and CEO of the organization that owns the property in a decision made by the AHC board, their president resigned effective May 31st. And we are focused on the tenants, the 280 tenants. And every day, this is what I'm working on most. We have to make sure that our neighbors live in healthy, safe, and affordable housing. And so that's some of the work that's going on at the Serrano. I want to tell you that we're working hard on it. Results are what you deserve and what the residents deserve most of all. So with that, we're working on it, more to come, but certainly the changing in the leadership is a significant step, and all the steps we're taking to eradicate the mice and addresses the issue as quickly as possible are a key priority for all of us on the board. Next slide. So I wanted to finish after some pretty meaty topics, and particularly where we're focusing on a meaty topic that is a high note, I think. Vision Zero is we adopted a resolution. It's an effort to end and get to zero fatalities due to accidents by pedestrians or cars or bikes by 2030. And right now, Arlington is way lower than most communities at about 3 or 4 per year, but we have to keep working on this. We know that for our climate change goals, for our health, for our livability as a community, we're going to need to be biking more, and we're going to need to, for everyone to be safer, and part of that, and that is encompassed by Vision Zero. So that's an action plan. It's about 90 pages. For those of you who want to take a look, certainly feel free to. So that, I think with that, I'll try and paste into the chat, as I promised, the civilian oversight press release from today. Those who watched closely will know that there was good discussion at the first conversation. This press release I'm showing you is in significant part a response to make sure we're hearing community input. I do think that the request to advertise was the right step, but we heard and we are continuing to listen, and that this forum, these 2 forums on June 10th and June the 22nd will help in that regard. I think I'm 3 minutes early, and I think unless there's any other questions or concerns, it'll be back to the chair.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Matt. As always, we really appreciate you coming on and letting us know about the many activities happening within the county. We appreciate your and the other county board members' leadership on these various issues, which we are watching with interest, as you've heard tonight, and we'll see in the chat. So we are excited to engage with you on these important topics. And I think, folks, that actually brings us to the end of our meeting. We were not able to get all of our morning mug information in, so you heard that we are having a number of different morning mugs planned for this summer. So more to come on that. Watch for an email, and also our calendar and Facebook events for the different morning mugs that were described. All of the events that you heard here tonight and all of the volunteer activities are advertised on our Facebook page at Arlington DEMS. Also, all of our events will appear on our calendar, arlingtondemocrats.org/calendar. For those of you who don't like Facebook, you could also follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and of course, sign up for our emails where we try to send out important information about our activities and our events. We also will post these slides to our website, arlingtondemocrats.org. So if you didn't quite get that event date that you really want to check out, or if you really want to figure out, how do I become a building ambassador, but I didn't get that email address, fear not. These slides will be available on our website, arlingtondemocrats.org, and a copy of this video will be on the Arlington Democrats YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight for an action-packed meeting. We have so much going on as we head into the summer. I look forward to seeing you in person at some events and virtually at others as we gear up for the important gubernatorial election in November and all of the important activities happening in between. Thank you so much and have a great evening.